I decided to do a 3-day spiritual fast. And in this video, I'm going to record the experience and share with you what effect going without food for 3 days had on my body and my mind. It's coming up to New Year, and I would like to start 2024 with a clear vision of what I want to achieve and with a mind that's working at its best. I spent Christmas with family this year, and I made a conscious decision to relax and just enjoy myself for a week. So I ate a lot more than usual, including sugary and processed foods, which I don't usually have, and I meditated a lot less. The net result is that I've put on weight, so my system is out of balance, my mind isn't anywhere near as elevated as usual, and communication with my guides is less clear. But that is something I expected because I've experimented in this area a lot. So I knew where I would end up if I took the week off, and I was fine with it. Because for all of us who are awakening, we're in this for the long haul. And at the end of the day, this is the environment we live in, and it's hard to be constantly pushing against the tide. Sometimes it's good just to take a break and be normal for a bit. But if you're anything like me, mostly it will just confirm that the spiritual path is the right one for you. Anyway, I took the Christmas week off intentionally, knowing I could reset with a 3-day spiritual fast. But what makes it a spiritual fast rather than just any old fast? Well, spiritual for me personally does not mean religious. If it does for you, that's fine, go with what works for you. But when I'm talking about spirituality, I'm talking about the ability to train your mind, raise your consciousness, and connect to something larger than yourself, the universe or source energy. And in fact, if I use that definition, then I would argue that any fast over 24 hours or so is by default spiritual, in that it does cause your consciousness to elevate above the physical. And that means you have greater clarity, decision-making ability, and intuition. Now, that's all linked to survival, of course, but we can use it to our advantage in our spiritual development too. But the thing that really makes a fast spiritual, in my view, is combining it with meditation and reflection. Our mind is going to naturally elevate when we go without food. So if we also spend time in mind training, which is meditation, and consciously thinking about the problems we need to solve, we've created the perfect conditions for a breakthrough. Now, of course, a spiritual fast will affect people differently, depending on where they are in their awakening and how much they stick to spiritual protocols in their daily life. But you can experience anything from reduction in anxiety and increased levels of happiness right through to an extremely elevated level of consciousness with a high degree of non-attachment, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm also expecting to gain some deeper understanding about the path towards my purpose, because I've got some questions in that space I just need to finesse a little bit. And I'd also like to have a chat with my team on New Year's Eve to talk about our plans for next year and just to see them. But basically, if you want to shed light on something, fasting and meditating in combination is one of the most effective and efficient ways to do it. It will always be helpful. It will always move you forward. The only thing I would say is if you're thinking about a longer fast, just make sure you're not in one of the groups of people who shouldn't fast. And I've included a list in the video description if you want to check. Right. Let me explain my spiritual fasting protocol. It's basically a water fast, but I also drink herbal tea to mix things up a bit. Let me say right now, there is absolutely no need to do a dry fast. That's where you don't consume any food or any liquid. We need liquid. Hydration is a spiritual tool, and it will be far harder for you to connect without water in your system. So spiritually speaking, water fasts are the way to go. For myself, I just use tap water that's gone through a filter. I avoid buying bottled water because of the environmental impact. And of course, I can't consume any food. I make it super easy. I work my way through pretty much everything in the fridge prior to starting a fast. In fact, as you can see, it's pretty empty. I still have some eggs, which I'll use for my first meal to break my fast. And in the cupboards, I only have things that need to be cooked, nothing which I can just open and snack on. I try not to go into the kitchen at all during a longer fast, literally just to make a cup of tea or to top up my water. And basically, you want to make it as easy as possible to fast and as hard as possible to eat. And that's one reason why I always start a fast after lunch, because it's pretty easy to skip dinner and then it's bedtime. So when you wake up the next morning, you're already 17 or 18 hours into the fast, maybe longer, depending when you had lunch. Also, it means that on your last day, you only have to go for half a day. So that makes it much easier to push through to the end. You have a half day in the beginning, then 2 full days, then another half day, and you're done. So I should say this isn't my first 3-day fast. It's something I do fairly regularly, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So I know what to expect. And that's why I'm still wearing my comfies. I know today I'm going to feel tired and not want to do much. So I'm giving myself permission to just relax and go with the flow. It's important to take some time out to do a longer fast, especially if it's for spiritual reasons, because you need to leave room for the breakthroughs to come. Don't try to fast alongside your normal job or daily life. Take time out. Remember, it's about introspection and focusing on yourself and your goals. Now, in terms of meditation, personally, I use a basic no-mind technique, and I meditate in the morning as soon as I wake up. I meditate in the afternoon, and if I'm not too tired, I might meditate just before sleep as well, although that's less usual for me. And I just meditate for as long as I want. And for me, that can be up to 2 or 3 hours, or sometimes it might just be 20 minutes. I go with my intuition. Sorry, Morris has come to say hello. Now, I don't have any monkey mind or internal monologue anymore, so really it's just about maintaining stillness. Come down, baby. Which then allows my consciousness to elevate, and that's when I start to gain the clarity and the insights. But for most people who are still training their minds, that amount of meditation or the no-mind technique, which is quite difficult, might not be the right route to go. And if that's the case for you, you can just follow your normal meditation routine and maybe increase the amount you do if it feels comfortable. Now, the other thing I do during a spiritual fast is take notice of things that pop up in my mind, and I try to understand their significance. Because when you put the body to sleep and you quieten the mind and you give it space to elevate, you can start to dredge up stuff you really haven't thought about for years. And if it's coming up during a spiritual fast, then it's probably important and it probably needs to be dealt with on some level. So I'll put some time aside for that kind of reflection too. Okay, I should say that I'm already about 17 hours into my fast. I was flying back from my Christmas break yesterday, so I had my last meal at the airport, and since then I've had nothing but water or herbal tea, and so far I feel fine. My body is used to long periods without food, as I tend to eat in a 18-6 window most days, and at least one day a week I fast for 24 hours. So from a physical point of view, the panic button hasn't been hit yet. In a moment, I'm going to weigh myself so I can see the physical effect of the fast at the end of the 3 days. And from a mental point of view, at the moment, I'm aware that my mind is a little fragmented and sluggish. So let's see what a few days of enhanced meditation does there too. Okay, so I'm about 17 or 18 hours into the prolonged fast that I'm doing. And I'm actually going to weigh in for the first time. I didn't have a chance to weigh before I started the fast because I started in an airport. So I'm basically going to start now. This is Dali, my glamorous assistant, who's going to help me. Right, so let's see. Okay, so I weigh 68.15 kilos at the moment. So that's a lot heavier than I should be. But this is a spiritual fast. It's not really about weight loss. Weight loss is a side effect of it and a symptom of your system coming back into balance. So mind, body, spirit all working together in harmony. We'll have a look at the end of the fast or throughout the fast and see how that number moves. And if you are choosing to do a protracted fast specifically for weight loss, that will also give you an indication of the kind of numbers you can expect to see yourself. So it's the first full day of the fast. I'm about 22 hours in, and honestly, I'm just chilling out right now. Day one's the hardest one really because you've got the switch into ketosis, so you feel hungrier and your system isn't really working at at its best, because it's kind of trying to move between two different systems. I'm chilling out in bed with lovely Minnie here, and I've just been reading my book, making some notes, thinking about some work that I've got to do in the new year, but nothing strenuous. But anyway, what I really wanted to do was show you the tool that I'm using called Zero to track my fasts. It's a really great tool. It's really flexible, and it allows you to program the fast for whatever length of time you want. And that's on the free version. I'm using the free version. So I just thought I would show you that while I was here. Say bye, Minnie. Right, this is a water fast, but for me that also means herbal tea, because it's a bit cold. I want to have something warm. The flavour breaks up the monotony a little bit. The important thing is to make sure, if you're using herbal teas during a water fast, that they don't contain any sugars, any additives, any caffeine. I particularly like this tea. It's red bush with bergamot, so sort of Earl Grey. But we've also got some mint, but that can be a bit strong in the system when you're fasting, so up to you if you want to try that. Or of course chamomile, because we know we're going to need a lot of rest, extra sleep, and chamomile's great for helping you relax. So now we're just going to have red bush Earl Grey. And of course it's so important to keep hydrated when you're fasting, so this will keep me going for another hour or so. I'm starting to get a few hunger pangs, which is perfectly normal on the first day or in the first 24 hours. So I'm just going to teach you a little technique that you can use. You will probably feel a little bit self-conscious using it if it's the first time you've done anything like this, but it's really effective. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to my body, which is a specific compartment of my mind, the subconscious, and I'm going to explain to my body that we are fasting, we as a system are fasting, that we're not going to eat for another 48 hours at least, and that it would be really great if the body could come on the journey with us. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just relaxing. I'm just going to close my eyes gently. Couple of deep breaths. And then I'm just going to say, dearest body that I love, thank you for sending me hunger signals. I'm aware that normally we would be eating by now, but actually I have decided that as a system we're going to do a 3-day fast. So we're not going to eat for another 2 days at least. So we don't need hunger signals. In fact, hunger signals right now are just counterproductive. So please, body, you can just take a break for the next little while. Thank you. And there I can feel it. I can feel that the hunger cue has instantly gone down. Now, of course, you've got to remember that I'm right at the end of the spiritual awakening journey. I've completed the journey. So in terms of mind control, I'm in a pretty strong place, though it has been a bit impacted by the Christmas break, which is why I'm doing this fast to begin with. So you might find for you that you don't get that automatic drop very quickly, but what will happen is over time, if you keep using that technique, you're programming your subconscious to understand what you need it to do. So I'm 24 hours in, a third of the way through, and I'm not going to lie, I had a bit of a nana nap. I had a real wave of tiredness that came over me about 45 minutes ago, and it's really important when you're doing these kinds of long fasts to take time out, make it about you, make it about your system, and to follow the cues. Other than that, I'm feeling okay. I'm not particularly hungry, but I obviously have been using techniques to bring my hunger down. I can feel that my mind is slightly foggy and mushy, probably because I'm starting the switch into ketosis now, so it's not quite getting the fuel, the brain isn't getting the fuel it needs to receive the mind's signals. Also, a little while ago, I was feeling a little bit anxious, some waves of anxiety. It's worth me pointing out that that does come up. That can happen in the first 24 hours. So look out for that if you're embarking on your own 3-day fast. Okay, I'm about 30 hours into the fast. It's the evening of the second day, I think 8 or 8:30, and it's actually been quite a tough afternoon because obviously with it having just been Christmas, I was eating a lot more than usual and mince pies for breakfast, which is very different to how I usually eat. So my body is conditioned to expect more food and especially more refined carbohydrate. Anyway, the upshot of all of that is that I have really felt tired and quite hungry this afternoon, and it's been difficult to keep my eyes open. So the reason I'm recording this now is because I'm going to go to bed. And actually what I might do is have a shower and go to bed, because a shower or a bath, a nice hot shower or bath when you're fasting, is a really great thing to do because it really reassures the body that everything's fine and there's nothing to worry about. So difficult afternoon, but I'm expecting tomorrow to switch into ketosis, so that should be a whole different ball game. I will let you know. Over and out. So it's 10 a.m. on day 3, and I am 43 hours and 23 minutes into the fast, which is well over halfway. I've actually been awake for a long time. Although I've been in bed, I've been meditating. So I meditated for about 2.5 hours this morning, and then I followed that up with some affirmations, visualizations, and prayer, which is the Holy Trinity of manifestation. And I haven't felt hungry particularly, although I did have a couple of pangs during my meditation, which reminded me to do a specific suite of affirmations which were related to the fast. And I basically just say things like, fasting is really easy for me. I don't feel hungry at all. It's very easy for me to go without food. My entire system is aligned to the idea of this prolonged fast. The best thing to do is to say each one 3 times, because that way the universe knows that this is definitely something that you're trying to realize, you're trying to manifest it. Also, I weighed myself this morning, and as I've said, this is a spiritual fast. It's not really about weight loss, but that is a happy side effect. So this morning I weighed 66.75 kilos. So that's a loss of nearly 1.5 kilos, which is around 3 pounds, I think. So that's a pretty good outcome, and it's about what I would expect. So my plan for the day is pretty straightforward. It's New Year's Eve. I usually take, if I can, New Year's Eve for myself to look back at the year that's gone, look forward to the year that's coming, set some goals. That will be more in the evening. But for the day, again, I'm just going to chill out, making time to meditate, making time for a long hot bath, making time to snuggle up in bed with the cats, of which, as you've probably noticed, I have several, and, read your book and indulge a little bit. I'm 48 hours into the fast, so 2/3 of the way through, but I was feeling a bit under the weather. I'm still tired, and I'm a bit foggy, not as clear as I thought I would be at this point. So I'm actually just making a little cup of stock from a stock cube. I probably just need a bit of salt in my system. Sometimes people get flu-like symptoms, and a little stock cube is a great antidote. It doesn't break the fast, the calories are too low. So let's see what that does. That stock cube worked a treat. My head is so much clearer, and I'm really grateful because I'm about to sit down and do my New Year's Eve meditation, looking backwards at 2023 and forwards to 2024. and catching up with my team. So it's really great that I've now got a clear head. I should have said this earlier. Ideally, you wouldn't take anything into your system that provoked a physical response. However, if you're really struggling, you're not breaking through, your body needs salt. A stock cube solves the problem. So I've really had just such a beautiful experience connecting with my team. Everyone was there. We had a really good conversation, and I have a clear idea of where to go, at least for the first part of 2024. It's just so nice to spend time with them because I miss them. I always get a bit emotional. I miss those guys. And I have very clear memories, very strong memories of our lives in the higher dimension, how we live together in the higher dimension, which of course is so different to down here. And I miss that companionship, I miss that way of life, and I miss that freedom. But of course, that's what we're going to bring to Earth in this dimension. That's why I'm here, and why so many of you are here, is to help us replicate that life down here. And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me going every single day, is knowing that I can be part of that and help that to happen. So that's why I do my planning on New Year's Eve. It's very important to me to deliver my mission. .3. It's the morning of day 4. I am 68 hours into the fast, so I have 4 hours to go until I've done 3 days, and I feel flipping fantastic. I have kicked into ketosis. In fact, I was woken up at 2 a.m. by the process kicking in. I had this sudden surge of energy. Waking up this morning, I just really feel terrific. I had a wonderful session last night, as I said, with my team. Really close connection. It's just such a wonderful thing. Basically, there's a pile of things I've been turning over in my head for probably 2 or 3 months, and within that 12 hours, they've been resolved. It's really clear to me now what I need to do. Without going into detail, and just to give you a flavour, basically, I'm a creative at the end of the day. I'm a painter and I'm a writer. That's what I really want to do. But obviously, I also want to teach people what I've been shown. So I'm also a spiritual teacher. However, what that seems to mean is that you basically become a full-time digital marketer, and that makes me unhappy, if I'm honest. So teaching people makes me happy, but digital marketing makes me unhappy. And I was just trying to find a way out of that, because it's really important to me that I share what I know. Basically, in a nutshell, my team has reminded me of the single most important thing, the one thing, if I could only teach one thing, this is the one thing I would ever teach: do what makes you happy. It's as simple as that. Oh, I'm getting all emotional again. You always know you've hit on a truth, don't you, when you get the well up of feeling. So yes, anyway, that's all of that process to remind myself, do what makes you happy. But obviously I needed reminding. It's good to be back in my hood. My fast ends in a couple of hours, and I'm just going down to the Medina to buy some fruit and vegetables. so I can make a nice veggie stew for this evening. I'll just have some scrambled eggs to break the fast. And yeah, I'm enjoying the sunshine. It's nice to be back in beautiful Morocco. I don't feel hungry at all. I'm back from the Medina. I just wanted to show you my amazing haul of fruit and vegetables. There's many reasons to love living in Morocco, but the availability of really good fruit and veg at low prices is up there. I got the world's biggest cabbage. That's for a bit of cabbage stew later. Carrots. I don't know what that is. I just bought it. A big onion. A couple of sweet potatoes. A perfectly ripe avocado, which I'm sure you cannot find in the UK. And, unfortunately in plastic bags, some fresh organic raspberries and blueberries. And all of that cost me less than £5. Well, that's it. The fast is over. 3 days is done. So I'm just going to scramble a couple of eggs to break the fast. The reason that I use scrambled eggs to break my fast is because they're full of protein, full of goodness, and they're super easy to digest. People say don't have protein to break a fast, but really they're talking about big lumps of meat. But eggs are absolutely fine. There's no problem with eggs at all. The other reason I do scrambled eggs is because they only take a couple of minutes to cook. So I can go from finishing the fast to eating really quickly. And that means that I haven't got to tolerate a load of cooking smells. And there we go. Scrambled eggs. Just a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Super simple, super quick, super healthy. Super delicious. It really is just such a good way to break a fast. Everything tastes so much better as well when you've gone without food. You really don't need anything elaborate or extravagant. Just something nourishing and warm is perfect. My fast is broken and I made it through the 3 days. Yay! And I thought I'd just take a moment to reflect on the experience and what it gave me while my veggie stew is cooking. From a not eating point of view, I actually found this fast quite difficult, at least until quite near the end when I finally went into ketosis. And it reminded me that multi-day fasting is always easier if you have a preparation period leading up to it. I just got a bit complacent because I'm so used to fasting, but I hadn't factored in the effect of all the sugary crap that I'd been eating over the previous week or two. From a spiritual point of view, however, especially once I'd drunk the stock cube of clarity, the whole process has been really helpful, really illuminating. Sitting here now, I can feel that my mood and my mind are elevated. I feel calm, I feel serene. And of course, I got that amazing insight from my team yesterday and then more information again today, helping me to see what the best way forward is for the next year. I mean, that stuff's golden, right? Because who doesn't want clarity? So overall, the experience has been really positive, even though the process was a little bit bumpy in parts. But you know what? It's just 3 days, hey? It's totally doable. I've actually decided that I'm going to dedicate January to spiritual practice. I'm actually going to experiment a little bit because I'm looking for a routine which will release the mind's highest potential and allow me to maintain ascension without it having to be the sole focus of my life. And in fact, that is part of my mission because we already know, and by we I mean the Council of Light, we already know that someone who is dedicated to spiritual practice 24/7 can do it, because we've had the Buddha and Jesus and Muhammad and numerous other spiritual practitioners. But we're heading into the era of mass enlightenment, so it means that it should be possible for absolutely anyone who is awakening to achieve their highest mind potential, because one day everyone on the planet will be awake and we can't all just sit in caves excavating our third eye all the time. So I'm really hoping to find a way to do this thing that allows for a reasonably normal life, and I'll keep you updated.